Howdy. Good morning. It's November 14th, 2019. This is Phil Morse here at Seashore Trolley Museum in Kennebunkport, Maine, in the Townhouse Restoration Shop. And today we're kicking off the live offering of the ebook on Kindle through Amazon for Teddy Roosevelt, Millie, and the Elegant Ride. And this book just came out in paperback a couple of weeks ago, and it's a fundraising book for Seashore Trolley Museum and a particular project that we have here at the museum called the Narcissus. The Narcissus is a high-speed luxury interurban from the Portland-Lewiston Interurban line that operated from 1914 to 1933 between Portland, Maine and Lewiston, Maine, and is featured in Teddy Roosevelt, Millie, and the Elegant Ride. A young girl grows up in Gray, Maine, and the electric line was built through her family's farm. And the only survivor of those interurbans today is the Narcissus. The original 6 interurbans were all named after flowers. And we are actually restoring the Narcissus here at Seashore Trolley Museum. And Teddy Roosevelt was a passenger on the Narcissus on August 18th, 1914. So there are, this book, Teddy Roosevelt, Millie and the Elegant Ride, is a historical novel for grades 4 through 7, age group 9 through 13, but is a book that we have found through reviews that is enjoyable for all ages. And so I'm here today to help kick that ebook launch off by giving you a little tour of the Narcissus and the restoration shop here on a chilly November 14th. That noise you heard that just ended actually is a piece of equipment called a pettibone. And that was warmed up. It's been very cold here the last couple of days here in Maine. And that pettibone is going to be used to get a couple of motors from a truck. And a truck for our streetcar is the assembly that holds the wheels and axles and motors. And that assembly is called a truck. And so they're going to be, the staff and volunteers are going to be removing a couple of motors from a truck that will be fixed, and not fixed, but gone over to be sure they're in tip-top condition over the next few months, and will be used in the restoration of the Narcissus. So let's show you the Narcissus. Here she is. Like I say, she's undergoing restoration here at the Trolley Museum. And so we're at a really exciting point in the restoration because this will be done in about 2 years from now. So you'll actually be able to come to the Trolley Museum and go for a ride on the Narcissus. And the Narcissus was a luxury, high-speed interurban. So during its normal operations between Lewiston and Auburn, there were stretches where it would just go 60 miles an hour as part of its daily operation, but other times that it would go much faster. So there are recordings of people saying that the car was clocked at as fast as 78 miles an hour. And you can see that we've removed a lot of material. And we're going to go down and get up close with it in a couple of minutes. But you can see there's Theodore Roosevelt. That's called the Teddy end, affectionately, because there is a photograph of Theodore Roosevelt on that end of the car. This is a passenger door entrance that we're looking at here, where that image is. But to the right, as we're looking at the image, there's what's called a train door. And there's a photograph of Theodore Roosevelt leaning out that train door when the car was stopped in Gray, Maine on August 18th, 1914, and he's addressing the crowd of local community members that day. And so So this is the Narcissus. So we're gonna actually go all those arches that you see right here. This is called a Clerestory, and these big arches over where the passenger windows will go. All those arches actually will hold ornate leaded stained glass windows. And I actually brought one, a small one, that actually goes in this top Clerestory on right above on the number 2 end. And so these are all beautiful. There are 40 ornate leaded stained glass windows in the Narcissus. So this particular one that I just took out goes right there. And we know that it goes right there because it's an original one. And on the top, you can see probably where it says, if I can clear that in, 14. Yeah, it's number 14. So they stamped what opening it's in, and the openings are numbered starting on the opposite side of what we see here with number 1, work their way down the end of the car, around, and so this is opening number 14. And then it goes right down the list. So we're going to walk into the heated area of the restoration shop, where Seth, our wood restoration professional, has been working on mahogany components of the Narcissus for several months, because there are many of them. And to have the interior mahogany all look consistent, Seth is removing the old material, and then we'll apply new materials to all the mahogany, so it's all one consistent look. So Seth, I'm going to introduce you here, and this is Seth. So what pieces do you have here that you could explain to the folks?
Right at the moment, a series of trim boards which run horizontally where the walls break up into the Clerestory. The upper sections are plain mahogany. They have holes drilled in them for some lights, some of which were added later, some of which weren't, so there'll be some plugging going on with some of those. Some of the other pieces, like the one I'm working on right now, have an inlaid banding on them, which is a triple stripe of ebony and holly. Here's one that I've already taken down. This one had a long stretch that was busted off down in here, so that's been pieced on with fresh mahogany, scarfed in, the holes re-drilled.
So the light color is holly,
Yes.
and then the dark color is ebony wood, and then another strip of holly.
Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the panels and trim pieces are done that way. Here's one of the arch panels that goes over the end. Some of the rest of what I have to deal with, this one's been cleaned but not stripped down. But this banding is a little bit fragile, and if it works its way loose and you snag your shirt cuff on it or something else, it disappears. So there's going to be some piecing in here on some of these sections. This one, there's a missing spot down there, one down here, so I have to recut some banding, apply that back in and blend it in as well. A lot of missing corners on things that just broke off over the years or in their earlier work attempts that maybe pieces were a little bit loose and had a little too much muscle put on them or taken off. So there's a lot of missing corners on things, things that can be patched in. There's been some earlier work done with non-matching wood fillers, some Bondo, a little bit of fiberglass, a little bit of a lot of things, which trying to remove everything, get everything down into one consistent color that can be dealt with to make the finishes match, but also as far as plugging any nail holes, doing any repairs, filling any divots, doing something that is consistently matches all the way through, so that once it's finished over, nothing stands out.
So here's an example. The color, these here are just two of the curtain covers that are over each passenger window. So these are mahogany, and you can see the color of these. These were all original, by the way, from the car The Narcissus was built in Laconia, New Hampshire in 1912 at the Laconia Car Company, and then it went into operation in 1914. So we are very fortunate that we have a lot of the original mahogany material and leaded stained glass windows and other things. The Narcissus has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places since 1980. And the restoration, when we're done over these many years, we've had the car for 50 years. It arrived, the body of the car arrived on Halloween 1969, so it's been 50 years that we've had it. And to think that it's going to be completed in a couple of years, so visitors will be able to go for a ride on it is very, very exciting for us. So a couple of other things in this area, more because there was a lot of mahogany. You can see those are original mahogany doors from the Narcissus. More work here. These actually are some of the original curtains, and you can see that they are not in very good condition. The Narcissus, the body, was purchased by Mr. J. Henry Valley in the late 30s, and he used the body on his property at Sabattis Pond. Thank you, Seth. We're going to move on. He used the body as his family's summer camp for about 35 years. So he and his wife and their young sons grew up in the car summers and actually lived in it year-round for 2 years. Now I'm going into this is the machine shop, and I know this looks like a pile because, well, it is a pile. But these are actually controller parts that are just the exact controllers we need for the Narcissus to operate. And we actually acquired a lot of the components because, as I just mentioned, the Narcissus arrived as a body only. So there were no mechanical components to make it stop or go. And so over the last 50 years, actually starting before the car arrived, we started acquiring parts, or the museum did. It was before my time. I've only been here almost 30 years. So we're going to go out in the shop now where there's no heat. Big metal shear, 600 volt. And so here's the number one end of the Narcissus. Yeah, good morning. And we've removed the southern yellow pine side sills, which are long, 37-foot long timbers that went inside this steel channel, and then the back of the steel channel bolted up to the floor joists. And then the top of the southern yellow pine timber was where these wall posts, the window posts, would then sit in a mortise and tenon setup. So just the design of these interurbans made it easy for water to come down the side and flow down through here and into this mortise tenon setup and do some water damage in the sills over 100 years. So we removed those side sills, which was quite a task. You can see how the car had to be set up in order to do that. But we have just located vintage southern yellow pine timbers, 40-footers, that are now, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, are being milled, cut and milled and sawn, and will be delivered here. And then the arduous task of aligning the holes on the new timbers, measuring them from the old timbers, and then cutting out so that these will fit in, and then putting the 37-foot timber on each side is going to be quite a task. But we're excited finally, after 4 years, we've been able to find them. And so in the next 2 or 3 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, we'll get that going. And once we, and it'll take a while to have them prepared to go in, but once they are, then we can start putting the car literally back together. It's a domino effect. There are a lot of things that we can't move forward with on the rest of the body of the car until this is secured. Once that's secured, then we can square everything up and start working on what these are called the vestibule end. And this one, like I said, is called affectionately called the teddy end. So these are components that have been acquired. This was acquired in the late 60s. And this is the multi-unit that powers it to go forward, and we have a reverser now, and air compressors, and we have the original, a lot of original materials for it. So this is very exciting. We don't have original trucks. Oh, I guess while I'm here, I can show you some other cars that are in the restoration shop here. This one here is the only surviving original car from the Middlesex and Boston line, and it was built in 1901, a little single truck car. And the only reason that was saved is the body was Paul's Diner in Natick, Mass for years and years and years. Here's a Twin Cities car, Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul's from 1907. Further down, the cream and green is 1914 Dallas, Texas. That car is a 1911 from Japan. This one is the last surviving car from Lowell, Mass. It was just a body that we acquired many years ago from a swamp in New Jersey, and it's probably will be completed in another 6 months, 8 months or so. It's almost done. This was also built in Laconia, New Hampshire, just like the Narcissus, but in 1914. That car is from Toronto, Canada, just finishing up its restoration. Inside the box here, we're getting ready for some winter work in here. Let's see if I can turn the lights on. Yep. So this is what's called a Birney car, B-I-R-N-E-Y, and it's a single truck car, all metal, and it was they manufactured tens of thousands of these in the late teens and early 20s. This particular car, it's undergoing restoration, of course, clearly, but while it was operating here, actually it was featured in the Spike Lee movie Malcolm X. There's a short clip in that movie where Malcolm X's father is run over by a streetcar, and in the movie this is actually the streetcar that happens in. And so in this space here, which is a somewhat heated space, is where the first truck base will come in for the Narcissus work, because we don't have original trucks for the Narcissus. They were all scrapped in the 30s, and they're very rare Baldwin trucks, along with the motors. Each one had two 90 horsepower motors. And so, turn that light off. So we have to make two trucks from trucks that we've acquired over the years. Oh, here's a center entrance car from Massachusetts undergoing restoration. This was all hot riveted. Volunteers and staff did the hot riveting right here. We carry a lot of people. So, this is the pettibone. And the pettibone can work on the railroad tracks, the trolley tracks that we have here at the museum, or as you can see, just on the ground. So it's utilized today they're going to go across the tracks. There's another truck over there that we're going to use the motors from. We don't have 90 horsepower motors for the Narcissus, but we do have 65 horsepower motors And so with the length of our track here at the Trolley Museum, those are going to be very adequate. So this is the first base truck. It is a Baldwin truck. But we're going to, in order to make trucks that work for the Narcissus, we have to start with this base and use 3 other sets of trucks to pull parts from, and then manufacture some parts in order to make the trucks look and feel and operate properly for the Narcissus. So let me I know I kind of go on. I'm the project manager of the Narcissus for the overall restoration. I've been working on the Narcissus project for 20 years this year. So very excited to be where we are now and the restoration, and that we know that 2 years we're going to have it done, and to have Teddy Roosevelt, Millie, and the Elegant Ride out now, and people can learn about the line and what life was like in rural Maine, and how an interurban line coming through a rural community just changed people's lives, opened up a lot of opportunities for business and for personal travel. And Gene Flahive, the author, and I are very proud of the book. And I'll do additional video posts. But if you want more information, you can go, there's a blog for the Narcissus, and the name of the blog is Narcissus1912 at blogspot or .blogspot.com. So it's narcissus1912.blogspot.com. And we do blog posts about the restoration, about Theodore Roosevelt's connections here in Maine, about the new book, and so you can follow along, and I'll do a video clip from time to time. So thanks for listening to me, and hope you're getting a taste for the exciting future for the Narcissus, and that you'll be able to come and go for a ride, and you'll be able to follow the restoration over the next couple of years. So thank you. Bye.